الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. So inshallah, it is our intention, may Allah give us tawfiq, to read the whole Quran cover to cover in English. This is fine. They can't hear this.
This is back now.
Inshallah, our intention is to read the whole Quran in English from cover to cover, inshallah, in Ramadan if we have time. Last year we just about managed to do it in basically an hour a day. So the class is basically straight after Fajr for 1 hour every day. So leave now if you don't want to, intending to continue. Inshallah, the structure, we're online as well. So people, those people want to join on Zoom, they can join on Zoom. And so basically the structure is we have 5 minutes in the beginning for some discussions and some questions. And then I'm just going to read, and then 5 minutes at the end. So it gets, Brother Tawheed isn't here. Last year we had Brother Tawheed, and mashallah, we went on a lot of tangents, and it was very difficult to get everything done. And sometimes we have a 2-hour class, sometimes an 1.5-hour class, etc. And it was very difficult. So inshallah ta'ala, we will just try and do some basic introduction today, and then get into some things, and and then move on. I'm reading from the Clear Quran by Dr. Mustafa Khattab. MashaAllah, he was here recently. Those of you who met him, I met him, alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. And, his book is, mashallah, very mubarak. It's been spread throughout the world. It is not the best translation of the Quran, but it is the clearest translation of the Quran. So one of the problems is we live in an era of newspeak where people can't speak English, Arabic, or Urdu. Basically, we have a problem. There's a kind of war on language. And so people can't read anything. So it's difficult for anything to be written in any language in reality. So sometimes there's certain words he used which could be easier, right? And so sometimes it's better to just make the word easier than accurate, because I don't even understand what that word means, right? Kind of Malcolm X style, that he had to teach himself English. A lot of people I don't even know what that word means, right? Even now for many Arabs, it's the same thing, that you need somebody to actually explain the Quran to people, because even some basic words they're just totally lost on, right? So anyway, so the clear Quran is the clearest Quran out there. It is clear, it has footnotes. I haven't seen anything that's inaccurate. That's all, right? There's a few things here and there that we'll just point out, but otherwise, a far better translation. There's a number of far better translations. Dr. Halim, I can't remember his name, something Dr. Halim. He's in SOAS University in England. He has one. It's well known, it's well established. R.J. Arbery. He wasn't Muslim, but it was a very, very good translation. I think he was like perennialist. So he's written from a point of view that somebody who loves the Quran, right? He said, the Quran helped him a lot. So it's written by somebody who loves the Quran, but doesn't believe in it, which is interesting. Anyway, so at least it has that spirit, right? That's also a very good one. The Quran Beheld is a translation that came out recently in the last year or the year before. That's basically by two of my teachers. So Sheikh Ali Hani, my teacher in Arabic, Nahw and Sarf and Balagh and Tafsir, he basically worked on that with an English translator for 17 years. So for 17 years, they went in and out of every single verse, tafsir, every single thing for a long time. They went through the Quran twice. And basically, it was a kind of ijtihad on two levels, ijtihad and tafsir, on like what is going through it. He would go through about 100 tafsirs for one verse. So, if you see the kind of the work that was involved, it's pretty insane. And then ijtihad on the English level, right? What is the exact word in English for that? Where's the problem? The problem is you might find the exact word for English, but nobody understands it, right? So the translator is very, very particular, and the language is a bit high for a number of people. So one of the problems is it's just kind of difficult to access. But it is much, much more accurate. And if you look at the introduction, the translator, what he does is he said, I went through about 500 different translations of the Quran, and all of them miss out these following points. Like, he's not trying to say I'm better. I'm just saying, like, there's genuine inaccuracies. Of these 500 translations of the Quran, not a single one point out this. So it is genuinely an academic work that's very, very reliable and very, very good. It's called the Quran Beheld, and it's available with facing translation and without. And there's a whole effort as well to kind of sponsor it for jails, etc., people who are incarcerated, etc. So those are the books I'd advise. That's that first point. The second point is who should do tafsir and who should not do tafsir, and this is important. So the Quran is supposed to be accessible to us, right? And we're not like the church, right? The church used to have the system where the Bible was only in Latin. You're not supposed to read the Bible, right? The priest is supposed to be the person between you and Allah, right? You're not supposed to read the Bible. It was like banned. Like if you have a copy of the Bible in English or in German or in French or in Italian or any language that you can understand, it's going to be taken away from you, right? It was a whole thing in the West, and that's where Protestantism comes from. So the Quran in general, we should all read the Quran, and we should all read the Quran in English, not a problem. But when it comes to tafsir, like explaining tafsir, who should do tafsir and who should not do tafsir? So obviously, number one, what we have to do tafsir is we have to have Nahu, Sarf, and Balagha, right? We have to have, the person has to know Arabic grammar, we have to know morphology, and we have to know rhetoric. So if you say, for example, what at-tankir al-ta'zim, like what does that mean? You don't know what that means. Obviously, you're not going to understand the Quran. I remember going to my classes, and the Sheikh said, al-balaghatu hiya al-fasl wal-wasl. And I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't even know what you're even talking about. It's like somebody who's doing chemistry, but they don't know what a molecule is. Like, how do you have a PhD in chemistry, but you don't know what a molecule is? Like, I know what a molecule is, right? So somebody who doesn't know basic things about Arabic grammar, they don't know basic things about rhetoric, they don't know basic things about sarf, then obviously there's not going to be much use in what they're talking about, right? It's not very useful, right? And so if you look, for example, we were doing before, a few months ago, we were reading from the Tafsir of Abi Sa'ud, like the kind of discussions he talks about, the relationship between like the nature of being an object, right? Meaning the maf'ul bihi, the nature of it. He goes into a lot of discussions. So if you don't even know what an object is to begin with, you're just totally lost, right? So it's not very useful. So somebody is explaining the Quran, they don't know sarf, balagha, etc., then it's kind of fairly useless, right? It's not a useful thing to do. Number one. Number two, they're not formally trained in fiqh, right? They're just informally trained in fiqh, meaning they know about fiqh. They've heard about fiqh, but they haven't been formally trained, right? So when they talk about, for example, say idrak al-daman, what's that? Or qarar al-daman, they have no idea what that is, right? Certain concepts in fiqh that come up again and again and again. Al-yaqeen la yazul bil-shak, they don't know what that means. They don't know the difference between salam and bay'. They don't know basic discussions in fiqh, then obviously they're just lost to begin with, right? Because they don't have the concepts to even explain the Quran. So it's not very useful. What else do we need? We also need to have ulum al-Quran. So there's a class I did with Dua Seminary, Sheikh Tamim's kind of website, which is a very short class, just 7 lessons. And so that class, I believe, is available online. It's just 7 lessons, goes through ulum al-Quran. What is the Quran? What are the qira'at? What is tafsir? What's the difference between the Quran and the Mus'haf? Where did the Mus'haf come from? How does Quran reach us? How do we know the Quran is true, etc.? These kind of things. These are important as well. So these are some basic things. And so somebody who's not trained formally in fiqh, what they're going to do, they're going to tell you some random things. And they're going to say, here it is in the Quran, right? Similarly, we have to have usul al-fiqh. If we don't have usul al-fiqh, you don't have a system of a process of how to analyze things, then they're just all over the place, right? And they don't know how to navigate things and explain things in random ways, right? And so for those of you who wish to look at just come into some introduction to usul al-fiqh, there's a class I did at Zaytech last year. It's a series of 8 lectures. So we did basically, why is there more than one opinion, right? Why can Muslims agree to disagree? The concept of plurality in Islam. So that was a class I did. It was over like 4 or 5 hours. We did it at Zaytech, and it's online on there. If you go free dingle, I think it's like Islam and pluralism, you'll find it on YouTube, right? So it's like 4 hours on why is it that we can agree to disagree? Why would some people say 8 and some people say 20? Right? Why would we disagree? Where does that come from? Why would some people say, no, there's time to fast now, not time to fast now, etc.? These kind of things. I'm not talking about fasting specifically, but just the general ideas, kind of mabadi of usul al-fiqh that we can talk about. And you get some kind of idea that, oh my God, if I didn't know this, I would have no idea what's going on, right? And then I did another 4-hour class on orthodoxy. If there's lots of different opinions, what's reliable? What's reliable? Is there one opinion or is there more than one opinion? How do we find that reliable opinion, etc.? Similarly, we need hadith, right? Because the Prophet ﷺ often explains a verse of the Quran. So I need to know something about hadith, right? And so we need to have a number of these skills. And you will find certain people explaining things that you really have no idea what they're talking about. So we need to have kind of done these things, and some obviously familiarity with the tafsir and the different genres of tafsir, etc., etc. So we're going to start with the Fatiha, and the Fatiha should be one of our many main goals in the Ramadan, because in Ramadan we are learning how to do takhliyah and tahliyah. Right, in Ramadan we're learning how to get out the bad and get out our attachment to the dunya and put in our attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what we're trying to do. So how do we know Ramadan worked? Is that when you say Allahu Akbar, you don't even know who's to your right or who's to your left. That's the moment we know Ramadan worked. Right? You say, who did you pray next to? I don't know. Right? Because we are talking to somebody that we worship, we love, etc. So the Fatiha is this training. So Ramadan is a 30-day training system. The Fatiha is a 17 times a day minimum training system of how can you learn to love and focus on Allah, right? This is the Fatiha. And so it's a very, very important surah. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned the hadith Qudsi saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, I have divided the prayer in 2 halves. And then the Prophet ﷺ described Surat al-Fatiha. So the Fatiha is called the prayer, right? The Fatiha is called the prayer. So when we pray, but the Fatiha is not in our minds, then we're not really praying. So there's an interaction in the Fatiha. We're talking to Allah and Allah is talking to us every single time we pray. And so it's very, very important that we develop that, right? So it's imagine, for example, if you were taught as a child to say something in Pashto. Mursaleen, how do you say, I love you, Grandma, in Pashto?
I love you, Grandma, in Pashto.
Okay, so imagine I'm a Pashtun and I was told, say this to your English granddad, I love you, granddad. I never knew what I love you, granddad meant. All I learned is this is what you say to your granddad. I don't even know what it means, right? You just say it. Like it doesn't behoove us to be like that. With the Fatiha, we should know what we're saying and say what we know, right? If you could just focus on the Fatiha, like that would be enough, right? Focus on the Fatiha, focus on ruku', focus on sujood, focus on the tashahhud. It's like, this is a prayer, right? Know what we're saying and say what we mean is very important. So it says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And again, I think we spent 2 or 3 weeks on the Basmalah in the Tafsir of Sa'ud class. And so we're just going to go through it very briefly. But basically, I'm going to paraphrase it. It means I begin with and seeking help and deriving all my strength and all my barakah from Allah, the one who I love, the one who I cannot understand, and the one who I cannot mean. These are a summary of the ishtiqaq of the words, the lafz al-jalala. Ar-Rahman, the one who is permanently and deeply and innately beneficent. So when we say mercy is a problem in translation, when we say Allah is merciful, there's a problem in translation. Why? Right? So Jayan and his friends are playing Mercy at school. You know the game Mercy? Right? You guys know what that is? You're too nice, these Lebanese guys. Right? You know Mercy, right? Right? So Hamir, come here. So Hamir and I were playing Mercy, okay? So we're playing Mercy, right? If you do this in Ramadan, it breaks your fast, man. I'm joking. Okay, so I'm praying mercy. I'm going like this. He's going like this. He pushes back. He push. The further it goes, what's going to happen? It's going to hurt. At a certain point, I'm going to say mercy, right? And then he wins. So if you look at what's happening here, I'm in a vulnerable situation, and Himyar is able. The more power he has, the less ability I have to protect myself, and the more he can hurt me. That's the concept. You say mercy, it means, oh, that means you could hurt me a lot. Is that what rahmah means in Arabic? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is true. We are in a vulnerable situation and Allah could punish us. That is true. We have sinned. We have messed up. We are in a situation where Allah could punish us. That is true. And that is part of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's not what Rahim or Rahman mean. Right? That's not what Rahman or Rahim mean. It's from the word Rahmah, which is from the word Rahim, which is the womb. Right? The womb of a woman. So if you can imagine a woman who is pregnant, she's 9 months pregnant. When she gets up, it hurts. But her pain for her baby is more than her. She gives birth, and her worry and concern for the baby is more than herself. Right? Sometimes it can be years later, not just 2-3 years later. She says she starts getting worried, and she parks the car, and then she gets a phone call from the principal. Your son just fell over. He needs to go to ER. Like, how did she know about her child? Right? And I always tell my kids, I said, Mikhail and Abdulzak, my kids, I said, one day you're going to find out who daddy is. Right? When you have your child, you will find out who daddy is. But you will never understand who mama is. I said, maybe Habiba, my daughter, maybe she'll understand it. But you have no idea how much your mother loves you. You can't understand that. So that's the connotation of Rahman Rahim. We're beginning the Quran not with, hey, Allah could harm you. That is true, Allah could harm you. Allah is al-Muntaqim, al-Jabbar, right? Shadid al-Batsh, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could punish you. Allah could wipe us out. Allah tells us in the Quran. Allah could wipe you all out. Jadar, for example, he's doing a poem on this. So like, what if Allah decided to quit? What if Allah went on strike? Right? If Allah went on strike, what would happen? That's true. But that's not what the verse is talking about. So when we say mercy, right, it doesn't mean, oh Allah, la tantaqim minni. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean, oh Allah, don't punish me. It means, oh Allah, the one who created the womb and created kindness and every single nice thing in the world, right? Every single nice thing. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, 1% of Allah's mercy is seen in this world through like from the time of I don't know when up to now. Every single nice thing that we see, right? Every single kindness, every single interaction in nature that is kind and soft and gentle and warming, the warmth of the sun on your face, the coolness of water, the hug that you get from your friend when you don't know what's going on in your life, somebody saying hi, how are you doing, and you're feeling like, oh my God, somebody actually knows I exist. Every single nice thing, that's 1% of Allah's rahmah. Right? So it doesn't mean, it's not talking about how Allah could punish you. That's not how the Quran begins. It talks about how Allah is unbelievably kind, right? What does a womb do? Right? A womb just gives and gives and gives, right? Those of you with, for example, who are married, you can see, for example, a woman might lose hair while she's pregnant. She might have calcium issues because all the good goes to the baby, right? In the night, when was the crack issue? In the 90s and 80s? Yeah, so they had the idea in the 90s about crack babies, right? Which was that, oh my God, what's going to happen is in this crack pandemic, which is women doing drugs, these babies are going to grow up on drugs. So the baby will be born into the world to be a crack baby, and he'll be born into the world and he'll be addicted to drugs, and he's going to basically make a whole generation of like psychopaths. What actually happens? The drugs harm the woman, not the baby. I mean, obviously, if it's to a certain extent, she can harm the child. But generally speaking, what does the womb do? The womb it's just pure beneficence, just pure niceness, kindness. So when we translate Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, and I'm thinking about in fourth grade when Himyar almost broke my wrist, and I'm thinking about mercy when I said, I told the judge, hey, judge, have some mercy, right? And I'm thinking about in the church, or people saying, Lord, have mercy. Lord, that's like a very kind of like dark and powerful sense of something. I'm thinking of Allah as like this angry God that's going to be nice to me. And that's going to come in a second, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is an angry God that's going to come in a second. But that's not how the Quran begins, and that's not how every single surah begins. It begins Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah who is Ar-Rahim, who is the permanently nice, kind, beneficent, benevolent, right? These are the senses of it, right? And so when we translate into mercy, we just lost, there's a lot of problems with that. But again, there's no better translation. So translator here is the most compassionate, right? So even compassionate, is that a good translation? Not 100%, right? Passion, compassion is not the same thing, right? And so it's so what's the rhetoric is, remember being in the womb. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke about this many times, that the womb stood up before Allah and said, oh Allah, we have this rapport. You're the Rahim and I am the Rahim, right? And yeah, Allah, I'm seeking protection. If anybody, right, so what this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, what do you want? Would you be happy, right? And speaks to her in the feminine singular as if she's a person and says, would you be happy if I cut off whoever you cut off, whoever cuts off you, and connect whoever connects you? He said, yeah. And the Prophet said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, that's how it's going to be. So there is this connection between the family, the womb, the kindness, affection, warmth. That's Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Not Allah could punish you, right? And that's a key thing in our life. We begin every single thing, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Rahmah. Be nice, right? One of my friends from the Bay Area here, he got married, and Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he said, give me some advice in marriage. He said, you should be nice. Like, okay, Sheikh, but give me some advice. Like, it should be nice, right? And anybody who's married, they're like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Because it's very easy to talk. It's very hard to walk, right? It's very easy to talk, but can we walk the walk, right? It's not easy to be nice. So we're continually reminded, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, be nice, be nice, be nice, right? Everything nice. That's how every single surah is beginning, right? And I remember one of my teachers once, he was saying that things are not mawjudat, they are marhumat. Right? In Arabic, you say mawjuda means it exists, right? Wujida, it was there. He says things are not mawjudat. This pillar is not here. Rather, it's marhumat, it's been shown mercy. Because why was this piece of wood chosen out of every single thing in the universe to be created? Why was it chosen to be a mimbar? Anything, any other atom could have been chosen, anything else. But the fact that we were chosen to be here, and we were chosen to listen, and we were chosen, this is all rahmah. So every single thing in creation is marhumat, right? These are things that are shown mercy, right? A sign of Allah's rahmah. Right? So as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Al-Kawnu bi asrihi Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The universe, lock, stock, and barrel is all through the name and blessed name of Allah, the one whom we love, the one whom we adore, the one who we cannot fathom, who is continually and inseparably characterized by kindness, and His full of mercy. So merciful is a good translation, a bad translation. It's a good translation because it has the word full. So Rahman is like Atshan and Jawa'an and Ghadban, right? It means to be full of something. So somebody is Ghadib means they're getting angry. Somebody is ghadib means they're angry. Somebody is ghadban, the guy is about to explode in your face. Like say one word to him, he's going to pop. That's a ghadban. He's pouring over with something. Ana atishun means I'm thirsty. Ana atshan means I'm full of thirst. Like it's very difficult for me to function. Right? So if you can imagine metaphorically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pouring over with kindness. It almost happens in spite of himself. Obviously, that doesn't exist, right? Nothing is in spite of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But every single thing is shows the Rahmaniyya, is a sign of the Rahman, of Allah's kindness, and He's pouring over with kindness in every single thing in your life. May Allah forgive us. So that's how we begin the prayers. Like every single thing is through that side, through the eyes. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I am through Allah. And even the Prophet said, Wa ana bika wa ilayk, and I am through you and I am to you. I am through you. I exist because of you. And I continue to exist through you. And where am I going? And I'm going to you. Right? So this is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You could write volumes on Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Right? But this is the concept. I am doing this, the existence, every single thing is through the Mubarak, blessed name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is possessed of this kindness. So this should give us a way that we function. How should we function? The default is rahmah. That's the default, right? And many people, unfortunately, the exposure to Islam as Muslims or as non-Muslims is the default is harshness. Rules, rules, rules. Don't do this, do this, don't do this, do this. Yes, there are rules, but the rules are only part of Allah's rahmah, right? Like I only keep my rabbit in his cage because otherwise it's going to get eaten by the dog. So it feels that it's restrictive. I want to go everywhere. Yeah, but you'll be harmed by that. Rules are tools to protect fools, right? That's me and you, right? Rules are tools to protect fools. We don't know what's good for us. And so Allah is kind and merciful. And so he gives us rules to help us, not that he's trying to restrict us or annoy us. He doesn't need to control us, right? And then it says, all praise be to Allah, alhamd. So again, I can't just kind of explain this now, but gratitude and praise is for Allah, Rabbul Alameen. What does Rabbul Alameen means? Rabb does not mean Lord, right? So in England, you can become a lord, right? You go and buy some land and you become Lord Hemyar, right? What's your last name? Al-Burati, Lord Burati, when he's got a funny hat, right? And he owns one square foot of some place in the Highlands of Scotland, right? And well, he becomes, and then his wife is now Lady so-and-so, right? And it's pretty cool. You become lords and ladies, right? And then he might be able to get into the House of Lords and get voted, and without even being voted for, right? So he's now in politics, even though he's not, right? So that's the concept of a lord, like lord of the manor, the guy who owns the property. We say a landlord, right? He's not necessarily your friend. The landlord is the guy who owns the property. He's not necessarily your friend. So is that what Lord means? Right? When we say in the English, in the year of the Lord, Anno Domini, right? The word domini is domination, right? So Allah dominates me. It is true, Allah dominates me. But is that what Rabb means? That is not what Rabb means. So we have to understand there are certain names of Allah that are Jalali, that are august, terrifying. They make us shake. Right? And there are certain names of Allah that are Jamali, they're beautiful and soft, they make us have hope and they make us, right, feel good. So Rabb is one of the Jamali names of Allah, not the Jalali names of Allah. When you say Ya Rabb, that doesn't mean, oh, horrible, terrifying. Like if somebody's making dua, Ya Jabbar, it's an intense situation, right? Jabbar is the one who his will is always forced on everybody else. Or Ya Muntaqim, oh Avenger, right? That's a right? Ya Dar, right? Allah's name is Ad-Dar, the one who harms. But somebody calling upon Allah Ya Dar is it's not like somebody calling Ya Rab. Ya Rab, I'm calling on my cherishing owner. He owns me, but he cares for me, right? You say Rabbul Mal is an investor. I care about this money. I want to see this money become more. It's not that I just own the money, but I want the money to become more. That's an investor. So Allah is invested in us. He cares about us. He wants us to increase. That's Rabbul Alameen, right? Like animal husbandry, right? I remember, maybe I always talk about my animals, but like a key thing for rabbits, right? What do rabbits eat? Carrots. Okay, whoever said carrots, get out of the masjid right now. Okay, what else they eat? Grass. Good. Thank you very much. Right. So one problem is everybody sees, what's it called? Bugs Bunny eating carrots, right? And they have this stereotype that that rabbits eat carrots. They eat carrots just like we eat sugar, but we shouldn't eat sugar, right? So the same thing. So for me, for example, I had rabbits and, they gave birth. This brother started the Sunnah Hasana of having rabbits, right? So anyway, so like the key thing is like, did the rabbit survive from being born to being nursed? And now are they eating hay? Are they eating grass? And so I can remember seeing this thing, like seeing my baby rabbits eating hay. It's like, Alhamdulillah. It's like seeing a child walk, right? I say, oh my God, he just spoke, right? So when you look at your child like, hey, I own you. That's not how you look at your child, is it? Now, obviously, your child could be rude to you, you can tell them off, right? But you don't look at your child like that. You don't say, hey, I'm bigger than you, right? That's not how it works. So Rabb means the one who wants you to grow. I want you to speak, right? Oh, he just said Baba. She just said Baba. No, she said Mama. No, she said Baba, right? You want that, right? So you want the rabbit to start eating hay, like, oh my God, it's now the next stage of life. You want that, you want the what's it called, the caterpillar to come out of the chrysalis and become a butterfly, and you want it, then and then you see, will it lay eggs? You want it to flourish, right? We have the word Rabib. Rabib is your stepson, right? So, for example, here's brother Tim, for example. Do you hate Jada? No. Do you wish his death? No, the opposite. The guy's dropping off at the school every day. We're contacting him. How can I help? He's there to give. He wants him to reach his potential, right? That's called a stepson. It's called Rabib, right? Rabiba is a stepdaughter, right? And so that's the concept of Rabb, right? Rabbul Alameen, the investor, the one who loves, cares for, cherishes, wants this thing to increase. And why is Allah angry with us? Just like we're angry with our kids. Right? So yesterday, for example, my son was lying on the floor. And I'm like, bro, like, why are you just like lying on the floor? So I'm not angry with him because he's lying. He's like, I'm paying him, he's not doing his job. Because I want him, he's a piece of me, right? He's my child. He's a piece of me. I want him to be more. Like, I want him to do things. Like, use your time, focus, do this, do that, right? Like, you want, so when I'm angry with him, I'm not angry because he's taking something away from me. I'm angry with him because I care about him. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us do this, that means he cares about us. When he says don't do this, it means he cares enough to be angry about it, right? You tell some brother, you say, brother, you know what your wife is? He's like, at this point, I don't care. I was like, no. Oof. That was a painful statement, right? At this point, I don't care. Does the guy care about his wife? I don't put any limits to her because I don't care about her. I don't care what she does. I don't care. But if you put limits to your wife, I care where she is. I care who she's talking to. I get jealous. I get this. That means she's worth something to you, right? She's worth something to you. If your child misbehaves, I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. I hope he goes to prison. Better for the US, right? More money, more, better to have people off the streets, right? That means you don't care about him. But if you're like, man, I want this guy to get him sorted out. I want good for him. So when Allah says halal, what's he saying? I care about you and I want you to grow. When Allah says haram, it means I care about you. You're important. You're special. And when you mess yourself up, I don't like it. So a very key concept to understand. When Allah says do, he's not benefiting. It's just for us. It's just like when I stop the rabbit from eating too many carrots and I give it, hey, I'm like, eat hay, it's better for you. Right? Because I want the rabbit to be a healthy rabbit. So I say, do this and don't do this. And when I take the rabbit, I say, don't leave the cage because there's a dog over there. And I'm like, what dog? I can't see the dog. Right? And I'm angry that the rabbit didn't listen to me, or I'm concerned that the rabbit got out of the cage. Same thing for us. When we do the haram, you can't harm Allah. If we sit here now, burn every single mushaf in the masjid, urinate in the masjid, write blasphemy all over the walls, what's it going to do to Allah? Nothing. You can't harm Allah. You can't do anything to Allah. Nuke the Kaaba. What are you going to do? You can't do anything to Allah. So Allah is angry with us not because we've taken something away from him. It's because we've taken something away from ourselves. وَمَا ظَلَمُونَ وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. They did not wrong us, Allah says, but they used to continually wrong themselves. So Allah is wrath with us. Allah is angry with us because we harm ourselves. Zayd ibn Aslam, he said that. He said, how can you describe somebody, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is happy with you when you do something that helps you, and angry with you when you do something that harms you? Like, is there anything better than that? Is there anything that is can you conceive of anybody who cares for you like that? So this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's only telling us to fast because it's good for us. He doesn't benefit. He's only saying this is haram, this is haram, this is haram, because it's going to harm you. So don't do it. He doesn't benefit from these things. This is the Rabb. This is the Rabb. This is the concept that we have to have. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, that's what it means. I have a Lord, He cares for me, He's nourishing me, He wants good for me, and He's given me a system, and He's happy when I follow the system that helps me, and He's angry with me for harming myself. He's angry with me for harming myself. Okay, what about harming other people? Can you actually harm other people? You can't. You can't harm anybody apart from yourself. You have a nuclear bomb that can only land in one place. I insult Hamir. I take things away from him. I put him in jail for 50 years. Did I take away his time with his family for 50 years? No. Nobody can harm you apart from yourself. Key concept. Because we see what? We see that everyone else is my God. He's in control of me. That guy fired me. That guy said no to me. That guy did this to me. Nobody can do anything to you because you only have one Rabb. He said, you're not going to have this rizq, by the way. You're going to be in jail for 50 years. And you have kids, but you're never going to see them. And you have money, but you're never going to benefit from it. I've taken that away from you for you. I've taken that away. And you're thinking, oh, that guy's just harming himself. He is only harming himself. Right? You can only harm yourself. You can't harm anybody else, and nobody else can harm you. So don't look at people, look at Allah. Right? So this is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Every single thing around you exists through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And because of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala repeats Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. You didn't get that point? You didn't get the point that Allah is kind, that you should be kind, and that Allah is doing everything for you just to be kind? I'm just going to repeat it, by the way. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Khalas, Ramadan over. That's all we need. Right? That's all we need. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh, yeah, you were on an Iman high, I know. You were on an Iman high and you felt really good and you loved Allah, but then you didn't have adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You had too much hope. You're like, Allah's so nice, Allah's so kind, Allah's this, Allah's this, Allah's this, but you don't know who Allah is. Because Allah is also Maliki Yawmuddin. He is the Maliki Yawmuddin, the King of Judgment Day and the owner of Judgment Day. So that is not a positive thing. That is an intentional shift from positive. You won't say positive, negative, but the beautiful side of Allah and the august side of Allah. And if you don't know Allah in His both things, then you don't know Allah. So if you look at Christianity, for example, you read the Old Testament, there is the angry, vengeful God of the Old Testament. God is not nice in the Old Testament. God in the New Testament is super nice. There's no Sharia, just believe in Jesus and you're all forgiven. It's like, great. So the God of the Old Testament, horrible, scary. God of the New Testament, do whatever you want, just be nice. Right? And you feel so good about everything, right? Where we say, no, you've missed the plot. You Jews in the Old Testament, you've misunderstood who Allah is. Allah is Al-Jamil and Al-Jalil. Allah is the beautiful and He is the august, the terrible. What does terrible mean? It doesn't mean bad. It means you should have terror, right? That He is the awful. You have full of awe of Him, right? Not awful as that was an awful lunch. That was horrible. Awful means you have awe of it, like, oh my God, right? So if I stood here, right? I stood here and a lion is roaring in my face. That's called awe, right? I'm in awe of Allah, right? And so somebody who knows who Allah is dead scared of Allah, right? At 100% dead scared of Allah. And so you have to have love of Allah and hope of Allah, and you have to have fear and awe of Allah. If you don't have both, you die. So the ulama describe the two wings of the bird, hope and fear and hope. Every single sin comes from too much fear, too much hope. Why should I bother praying? Allah's not going to accept it anyway. Too much fear. Why should I bother praying? Allah will forgive me anyway. Too much hope. It's his birthday. It's okay. We could just go out for once. I don't drink like me. I don't drink, but it's just his birthday. That's why we're doing it, right? Too much hope, right? We're all destroyed. There's no good in the world. Too much fear. So you have to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as both the Jamil and the Jalil, the beautiful and the august. We have to have both. You have to have love of Allah and fear of Allah, hope in Allah and dread of Allah. But you are 99% certain you're going to go straight to Jannah without a single question. And 99% certain you're going to go straight to hell. And you're going to die as a kafir, in fact. Because none of us can guarantee that we're going home with Iman today. So that's why we're going to say in a second, Ihdina Sirat Mustaqim, Ya Rab, help me. Because I can't do this by myself. Right? So when we say, oh, Allah is in control, you have to have those two things. Right? That's called, now we have ibadah. You have enough hope to make dua and enough fear to make dua. Enough hope to do istighfar and enough fear to do istighfar. You have to have both. Otherwise, the bird falls. A bird with one wing is not going to fly. Right? Maliki yawmiddin, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. And now it shifts. There is a rhetorical shift now. So before we were talking about Allah. Himyar is a really nice guy. I've really appreciated knowing him for the amount of time that I've known him. He's helped me out many things. He's bonded with my kids. This. I just want to thank you, Himyar. You see that? So I was talking about Himyar, and then I turned to him and started talking to him. So this is our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, where's Allah? Oh, Allah created things because these things are here. Allah must be nice because things are here. We're talking about Allah, but we can't experience Allah. We're just talking about it as if He's there in our head somewhere. And then through mu'amala with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we acted upon our fear of Allah. We acted upon our hope in Allah. We acted upon our love of Allah. We acted upon our gratitude. You act, and then it becomes direct. It's no longer an interaction that is somewhere a third person. Oh yeah, Himyar, he must exist because otherwise why would the plate be here? Himyar must exist, otherwise why would I have a text message from somebody called Himyar? But now I'm talking to Himyar. Right? So there's mu'amala and then mu'ayana. Mu'ayana, I'm actually with Allah. This is what the Prophet ﷺ taught Ibn Abbas. Ihfad Allah, yahfadk. Look out for Allah, have hope in Allah and fear Allah, and Allah will look after you. Ihfad Allah, tajidhu tujahak. Look out for Allah, you're going to find Allah straight in front of you. So now you're talking directly to Allah. Talking directly, saying, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You alone we worship, and you alone we ask help in our existence, in our food, and in our worship. So some Muslims, they made a huge mistake. They thought that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put us in autopilot. They said, listen, you guys just work it out. Here's a message. I'm going to give you certain powers to do good things and bad things, and you guys just work it out. And I'll see what you're going to do on Judgment Day. So he put the universe in autopilot. Like Allah's not involved in the day in, day out. And they said there's no qada and qadar. They said there's no such thing as predestiny. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting an autopilot. Like he gave it, He gave us autonomy. Like you guys just do what you want. So for them, when they say Ihdina Sirat Mustaqim or they say Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, what they mean is like, oh Allah, like tell me what is halal and haram. But that's totally wrong. Because we believe in qada and qadar, right? And we know that la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, every single thing that happened, every single thing happened by the will of Allah. Every single thing, including our good deeds and including our bad deeds. So I'm trying to leave the haram, like, hang on a minute. It's actually in Allah's hands. So I need to say, Ya Allah, please help me. Right? So a key thing, like, which of us, for example, was like, yeah, I should ask Allah to help me fast today. Or which of us thought, I can do this is easy. So the person who said, I can do this is easy, your iman is naqas. Because you think that I've always fasted Ramadan. I've been fasting Ramadan since the age of 5, not a big deal. You can't do anything without Allah. You can't breathe without Allah. You can't avoid the simplest sins without Allah. Right? So for some people, they feel they're struggling on certain sins. You're not struggling on certain sins, you're struggling on all sins. Right? Kullukum dalun illa man hadaytu fastahduni ahdikum. As the Prophet ﷺ said, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, every single one of you is totally lost. Right? Somebody's dealing with a heterosexual problem. Right? An issue of halal haram. It's like, dude, you'd be dealing with pedophilic problems if it wasn't for Allah's rahmah. You'd be doing the most disgusting things possible. You'll be drowning in the filth of shirk and everything if Allah didn't help you in every single moment. Right? That's Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. So when you're fasting today, like, I got this, but Allah just help me on this. You haven't got anything. The slave is, I haven't got anything. I can't fast without Allah's help. I can't avoid lying without Allah's help. I can't avoid doing every single haram thing. I can't breathe without Allah. I can't do this. I can't do that. And so this is the ma'iyat Allah that Sayyidina Musa had. Inna ma'aya rabbi sayahdeen. Allah is with me. He's helping me exist right now. I feel my existence coming from Allah. I feel my guidance coming from Allah. I feel my breathing coming from Allah. I feel my thinking coming from Allah. He's with me. Of course, He's going to guide me. But Bani Israel, they don't have that. They're like, we're not with Allah. But there's a leading army behind us. There's a sea in front of us. What are you talking about? We're not with Allah. So they didn't see themselves in Allah's hands. But Sayyidina Musa saw himself in Allah's hands, right? وَلَا أُبَرِّئُ نَفْسِي إِنَّ النَّفْسَ لَأَمَّارَةٌ بِالسُّوءِ, right? I do not acquit myself. I do not acquit myself of sin. I'm not saying I'm a good person. The self, myself, yourself is continually commanding me to do shameful and low things. A su wajhu means your face drops. Like, dude, did you have to do that? That's disgusting. That's so low. Why did you do that? Right? That's called su. So every single one of us is the vilest of vile creatures, illa ma rahima rabbi, except when Allah wills. So that's ihdina sirat mustaqim. Ya Allah, if it was not for you, I couldn't finish these words and I would be in shirk. I'd be worshipping a pig idol in this 1 minute. I would be stealing. I would be doing all sorts of crazy things if you didn't help me. Right? What a difference between those Muslims and us. Right? Those Muslims like, yeah, I got this. It's between me and myself. And you say, no, Allah, I only worship you, Allah. You're my one dream, you are my fear, you are my one ambition, but I can only do this with your help. وَلَا تَكِلْنِي إِلَى نَفْسِي طَرْفَةَ عَيْنٍ. As Prophet used to teach the dua. Ya Allah, don't leave me for the blink of an eye. You leave me for a blink of an eye, you're gone. Iman, goodbye. So the moment you say, I'm a Muslim, but I need to work on this, you say, no, I'm a kafir that Allah has given Iman to. Right? I'm a sadiq that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given tawbah to. Right? I'm a thief that Allah has given tawbah to. I'm a this, I'm a that. Like, what am I in myself? I'm nothing. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been kind and given me this and given me this and given me this. Every single thing. That's Rabbul Alameen. He is the one who gave you every single thing. Your existence, your guidance, your mind, your this, your this, your this, your this. Right? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawm, Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in. And notice it also shifts into the verb. The fi'l mudari in Arabic, you feel it tajaddud. Right? It changes into the present tense verb. So it's like saying, right now I am only worshipping you, and right now so I am continually worshipping you, O Allah, and I'm continually seeking every single help from you, Allah. Right? And this is one of the exercises that some of my teachers gave us, is that when you turn a key on a car, that you connect to Allah first. So you can imagine two different things. Imagine the key doesn't work. Oh. Why'd you get angry, bro? Because I'm with the key and I'm with the car. But if you're with Allah, it doesn't work, it's not a problem. So if you connect to Allah first, stop, connect to Allah, didn't work. Try it again. Didn't work. Try it again. This can't frustrate me because I'm not with it. You get me? I'm trying to tell this kid, oh my God, when kids like, that's, I thought I didn't have an anger problem until I had kids, right? But it's like, what is it? Are you with the child or are you with the Allah, the Lord of the child? There's a big difference. This kid just doesn't get it. The kid just doesn't want to cooperate. The kid is like, oh my God, you're not with it. Be with Allah, right? Yeah, seek your help, not through your own ability, through that situation or through this or that. Don't have hopes in other people. Right? You're in debt, and perhaps that brother can help you. Oh, I'm my life's over. Maybe this doctor can help you. Oh, maybe Russia's going to come and help. Maybe America's going to come and help. Nobody's going to help you apart from Allah. Allah is Huwa Mawlakum. He is your patron. He's the one who's looking after you. Right? So this is Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in. So when you have hopes and ambitions and fears other than Allah, that means we don't have real ibadah of Allah. Iyyaka na'budu means I only fear, I only love, I only aspire to one thing, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Okay. And we seek help in that. And then, Ya Allah, this is pretty hard to do. and I can't do this myself. So now you're expressing your poverty, your indigence, your need to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making dua. And as the Prophet ﷺ said, ad-dua hiya al-ibadah, or huwa al-ibadah. Prophet ﷺ said, dua is ibadah. When you're like saying, Ya Allah, help me, that is worship. That's what worship means. Like when you have that feeling, right? And so many of us, we have a problem, which is you fall into sin and you think things are bad, right? In reality, things were worse before. So when you were a religious person, you're doing what is right, and you were thinking you've got it yourself, you were in a far worse situation because you are thinking, I've got this. Now you fell on your nose, like, dude, you actually missed the prayer, you know? Like, and you were awake. Like it wasn't that you weren't asleep, you were asleep. Like you turned that alarm off 5 times. Like don't tell me you slept for Fajr. You turned that alarm off 5 times while you're awake. So now you're like, oh my God, I'm actually a bad person. I can't do this without Allah. Thank you. Now we're starting. As soon as it clicks, I can't do this without Allah. Now we're awake. Before, when you're like, what do you mean? I always pray tahajjud. I always pray on time. You're nowhere. You're like, I don't know what you're like. You're like in galaxies away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the person who's now like, oh my God, I can't actually do this. I can't quit alcohol. I can't do it. So the person who's the alcoholic is like, this is no joke. Like, I have no idea, but ya Allah, help me, right? When you're in that situation of ittirar, like, oh my God, I can't help you. Now you're awake. And if it had to come through a sin, it had to come through death, it had to come through war, then so be it. But otherwise, the person who's like, yeah, I got this. I'm a religious person. MashaAllah, beard, right? I've got my religious person card and everything, MashaAllah. I'm always the first person in Fajr, always the last person, MashaAllah, right? I even, I'm a part-time rabbi and a priest, just to top it off, MashaAllah. Like I've got all the things there. Like I'm an amazing person. That mentality, this person is very far from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And so when we're like, oh my God, I can't do this, now we're talking. Right? That's why they say wurud al-faqat. The ulama, they say something wurud al-faqat, a'yad something like can't what the word is, but they say when indigence hits you, when you're like, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't pay I don't have the money, I just can't do it. I don't have the ability, I don't know how to solve this problem. I have problems I cannot solve in my spirituality, in my money, in my health, whatever it is. This is like your Eid, because you're actually connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as opposed to, yeah, I got this. Allah, can you just back off for a minute because I got this. That's the attitude we have half the time. Allah, just back off until I need you, please. As opposed to a person like, yeah, Allah, help me breathe. Yeah, Allah, help me move my finger. Yeah, Allah, help me do basic things. Yeah, Allah, help me pay my bills. Yeah, Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah. This person's alive. This person's the habit. This person's awake. Right? And so many of us, we're trying to get out of difficulties, when in reality, difficulties are probably the best thing that ever happened to you. Right? May Allah protect us. And so then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, well, yes, I'm going to guide you, but how am I going to guide you? You need to read about, you need to be with people in the present, and you need to be with people in the past. Right? So ihdina as-sirata mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, guide us the path of those you have blessed. Think about the prophets of the past. Think about the Sahaba. Think about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Think about the Salaf. Right? When you read about the Salaf, you're like, subhanallah, this is what I'm talking about. Right? And so read the stories of the Salaf, read the Sahaba, read the Quran. You see, this is what it means. See the life of the Prophet ﷺ. You're like, I don't want to be in debt, but the Prophet ﷺ died in debt. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. It's like, oh, I just want to be in a situation where I'm financially capable. Yeah, the Prophet ﷺ was not in that situation, nor did he aspire to it. Right? And so some of us, we're trying to get out of situations. Or I wish people, like as for someone like myself, I wish people would listen to me. Did they listen to the Prophet ﷺ? 13 years, nowhere. Like it's a failed da'wah, basically. 13 years, Mecca, you go to every single, and the Hajj, they're coming to the Hajj, he goes to every single tribe, I'm the last prophet of God, nobody's listening. And in reality, your followers are being hurt as well. So you're not only failing, but your followers are being persecuted because of you. So you're a failed dad, you're a failed this, you failed that, you failed that. He kept going. Right? Isra and Miraj happens at the hardest time in his life. That is the case for most of us. The best thing that happened to us usually is at the worst time of our life. That's what it is. Right? And so we try and get out of difficulties. We're supposed to get out of difficulties. You shouldn't stay in debt if you have a choice. You shouldn't stay sick. Right? You should try and cure yourself. You should try and get out of things. But that's on a practical level. On the other level, that difficulty is the biggest thing that ever happened to you because it actually showed you who you are, right? My favorite film, Hamir, Matrix. So when he meets the Oracle, what does she show him on the wall?
Know thyself.
Know thyself, right? Know thyself, right? So the path of those who have blessed, and so that means the people of the past and the present. You've got to be with righteous people. So guarantee the best way to die as a kafir is to be around kuffar. Right? The best way to die as a non-Muslim is to surround yourself continually with non-Muslims. Right? So this is me, like I'm quite a lazy person. Right? I can sleep very easily, I can sleep through Fajr very easily. So what do? Is just like be around people who wake up for Fajr. So like, I can't do this by myself. Ya Allah, please help me. Okay, Allah's going to help you, but take the means. Be around people who wake up for Fajr. I'm going to lie all the time. Be around people who don't lie. Right? People who try and quit smoking and they're around smokers, it's not going to work. Doesn't work because it's a force of habit. You just get back into it. You now want these different, you just change your sort of situation. Right? So this is why, the Prophet, that story of the man who killed whatever, 99 people, then 100 people, etc. The Prophet, the story goes that the man tells him, yes, you can make tawbah, but leave this place. Leave this place. So it's a key thing. When you make tawbah, you have to change the situation. Astaghfirullah, saw that image. Astaghfirullah, saw that image. Bro, you've never heard of image blocker. Technology is way beyond, like you can do everything else technology, but you can't do that. You got a problem, right? When was the last time you got into argument with your wife? It was this time of the day and this time. Was it Friday? Yeah. Were you tired? Was she tired? Yeah, bro. You said something you shouldn't have said. She said she shouldn't have said, and then it lasted for a week, and then this is this. Why? Change the situation. No, you're tired. She's tired. Don't talk. Wake up a little bit. Right. So if you can't physically change the situation, you can manipulate the situation. Right. Don't talk to me before I had my coffee or whatever it is. Like systems. Right. I need this. You need that. We need whatever it is. Like you have to be a bit clever. Right. Unfortunately, often so many of us are very clever in many avenues of our life, but super dumb when it comes to our most essential things about how we are with other people and et cetera, right? So we need to be around righteous people. We need to manipulate our surroundings. That's what humans do. They change the surroundings around us, right? Be around righteous people. Many converts, for example, was right? Muhammad Amin, for example, like my dad, for example, 10 years, he was out. Muslim, 10 years, he was with Jamaat Tabligh for 2 years. So he's in a good environment, people praying 5 times a day, this. Then, another 8 years here and there. Many people travel to the East. It's just like, so many people, happens like that. You're around good people and it makes it easier. If I'm around bad people, you're going to be a bad person. And I know we're running out of time, but just a key thing, this is what's going to happen to every single one of us. You came out of Ramadan and you're like, Ya Allah, all I want is to please you. I don't care about anything else. You had one goal. And then what happens is you're around bad company, your goal comes down from Allah to Jannah and avoidance of hell, which is pretty good. But you came down a notch. And now all you're interested is you come down a notch to halal dunya, which is fine. Halal dunya is fine. My aspiration is, for example, to have a nice house. My aspiration is to have a good job. My aspiration is to, I saw this, I didn't like Jeeps, but my son keeps talking to me about Jeeps. And I'm like, Jeep Sahara, that's pretty nice car to be fair. Look, that's a nice car. So your aspiration came down from, Ya Allah, I just want to die in sujood. I don't even care where I turn up. To Jannah and saving from hell, to halal dunya, and then to haram dunya. That's how it works. Right? You don't just jump. So your hal, the way you are, is eaten away by your company, by the screen, by the bad company. And you come down, you realize, oh yeah, I'm around these people. I'm just thinking about halal dunya. How did I get there? And where am I going? Because soon it's going to go from halal dunya to any dunya. Halal or haram dunya. That's what's going to go down to. But you want to go back up to, my aspiration is one thing. I have no care and concern about this life. I'm talking about Jannah. And from there to all I care about is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I just want Allah to be happy with me. I don't even care where I turn up. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just thinking, Ya Allah, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. I just want to die having said Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. I want to die in Taraweeh in Medina, in front of the Kaaba, in Taraweeh in Ramadan, on a Friday. What a difference. But what happens? You come down, right? So this is why the Suhbah is very important. Wallahi ma aflaha man aflaha illa bi sohbati man aflaha. The ulama say, by Allah, nobody succeeded who succeeded in this deen apart from being with people who succeeded. You have to, the Prophet did not send letters to Mars. The Prophet had Sahaba. Sahaba means companionship. It's a verbal noun. Sahaba doesn't mean group of people. It means the companionship, the fellowship. So they had sohbah. Sohbah is 120%, you basically. Look around the people and who you are, and that's who you are. Not those who have displeased you, nor those who have gone astray. Right? I.e., look at the people of the past. Look how many people have earned Allah's wrath. When you did wrong, you did wrong, you did wrong. Right? And there's just another paradigm as well in our mind. What does it mean to do wrong and to do wrong and to do wrong? Is you can persistently leave what is the best thing to do. You knew the best thing to do with this, but you didn't do it because it's not wajib, you don't have to do it. So you persistently did that which was not the ola, not the best thing to do. And then you persistently did the opposite of the sunnah. And then you persistently did the makruh. And then you persistently did the haram. And you persist and you persist and persist until you find yourself as a kafir. That's the descent. So where should we be? We should be, I know this is the best thing for me to do right now, therefore I should do it. And if I don't do it, I should make tawbah. As opposed to, I know this is makruh, but it's only makruh. Because the next thing is going to be, it's only haram. I mean, according to some people. It's only haram according to everybody, but Allah is Ghafoor Rahim. Right? And then you persist in the haram, and then this person, their iman is shaky. And then something happens, they leave Islam. So this is how these people who are lost and people who are astray, that they knew they did wrong. Sami'na wa asayna. That's what they said. We know exactly what you want us to do, Allah, but I'm not going to do it. Sue me. Right? They know what is right and they don't do it. Right? And so this is what we have to focus on is, and how do you become like that? Through good sohbah. You live with people who all they want to do is the best possible thing. All they want to do is show love to Allah. All they want to do is show their fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do it on a regular basis and they don't accept anything less than themselves. And then it says Ameen, and it says, which is not part of the Quran, but the Sunnah is to say, which is, oh Allah, accept the dua. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll go on to Baqarah, inshallah ta'ala. Subhanallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.